"I've got $43 to last until Friday," Jack whispered, checking his bank balance at the red light. Rain spattered his windshield as he spotted a woman standing helplessly beside a luxury car, hood raised. He should drive past. He was already late picking up Emma, but something in the woman's defeated posture made him pull over. As he worked on her engine, refusing the cash she offered, Jack noticed her simple clothes, her lack of pretense. "I can't take your money," he insisted. Anyone would have stopped. Olivia's eyes filled with unexpected tears at his kindness. What Jack couldn't possibly know as he hurried away to collect his daughter was that he had just fixed the car of a woman who could buy his struggling garage 1,000 times over. A woman who hadn't experienced genuine kindness without strings attached since inheriting her uncle's fortune 3 years ago. Jack Foster wiped his oil-stained hands on the rag tucked into his back pocket and glanced at the ancient clock hanging on the wall of his garage. 4:30 already. He'd promised Emma he wouldn't be late picking her up again, but the Johnson family's ancient minivan had needed more work than he'd quoted for, and he couldn't bring himself to charge them extra. Not when they had 3 kids and were scraping by just like him. "You heading out, boss?" Max, his only employee, called from beneath a sedan. "Yeah, gotta get Emma. You okay locking up?" Jack checked his wallet, grimacing at the single $20 bill inside. A quick glance at his phone showed his bank balance, $43.12. It would have to last until payday on Friday. "No problem. Tell the kiddo I said hi." Jack nodded, sliding into his weathered pickup truck. The engine protested before reluctantly turning over. "Just hold together a little longer," he murmured, patting the dashboard affectionately. The spring rain had started, a light drizzle that painted the rural Virginia landscape in soft watercolors. Jack took the back road that would save him 5 minutes. He needed every second if he was going to make it before Mrs. Peterson gave him another lecture about punctuality. That's when he saw her, a woman standing beside a sleek black car on the shoulder, hood up, looking utterly lost as she peered into the engine compartment. Jack checked the time again. If he stopped, he'd definitely be late. He slowed down anyway. The woman turned as his truck pulled up behind her car, rain dampening her simple blouse and jeans. She didn't look like most of the luxury car owners he knew. There was something unassuming about her, despite the expensive vehicle. "Having trouble?" Jack called, stepping out into the drizzle. "It just died," she replied, gesturing helplessly at the engine. "I was driving along, and suddenly, nothing." Jack nodded, already moving toward the car. "Mind if I take a look?" "Please," she said with visible relief. "I'm Olivia, by the way. Jack Foster." He leaned under the hood, his experienced eyes scanning the engine components. "Try starting it for me?" Olivia slid into the driver's seat and turned the key. The engine made a clicking sound but wouldn't turn over. "That's what I thought," Jack muttered, reaching for the small toolkit he kept in his truck. Within minutes, he had identified the problem: a loose connection and a faulty wire that had come undone. His nimble fingers worked quickly, reconnecting and securing the wire. "Try again," he called. This time, the engine purred to life. Olivia's face lit up with a smile so genuine it made Jack pause for a moment. "You're an angel," she exclaimed, stepping out of the car. "I can't thank you enough. Please, let me pay you for your time." She reached for her purse. Jack waved her off. It was a simple fix. Hardly took any time. "Don't worry about it. But you stopped to help a complete stranger in the rain. That's rare these days." Jack shrugged, suddenly self-conscious. "It's what anyone would do." "No," Olivia said quietly. "It's not." Something in her tone made Jack look up, meeting her eyes, warm brown and surprisingly direct. For a moment, neither spoke. Jack's phone buzzed, breaking the spell. A text from Emma's school. "I've got to go. My daughter's waiting at school," he explained, already backing toward his truck. "Make sure to have that connection checked properly at a garage. It could come loose again." "Wait," Olivia started to say, but Jack was already closing his door. "Glad I could help," he called through the window before pulling away, watching in his rearview mirror as Olivia stood beside her car, still watching him. Jack drummed his fingers nervously on the steering wheel as he pulled into the school parking lot, already 10 minutes late. The notice about the new payment policy had arrived last week. All after-school care fees needed to be paid in advance now. No exceptions. He'd been hoping to stretch it until payday, but Mrs. Peterson had made it clear that today was the deadline. As he hurried toward the building, rehearsing explanations and promises to pay on Friday, Jack had no idea that the woman he'd just helped was following in her now-functioning car, or that his simple act of roadside kindness was about to change both their lives forever. His only thought was for Emma, waiting inside with her gap-toothed smile and endless questions about engines and stars, and how he would explain that they might need to find a different after-school program, one they couldn't afford any better than this one. Jack's stomach knotted as he approached the front desk of Sunshine After School Care. Mrs. Peterson, a woman whose perpetually pinched expression suggested she'd been sucking lemons for decades, glanced up from her computer. "Mr. Foster," she said, checking her watch deliberately. "You're late. Again." "I know. I'm sorry. There was a stranded motorist and—" Mrs. Peterson held up a hand. "Save it, please. We have more pressing matters to discuss." She slid a printout across the desk. "As per the notice sent home last week, our new payment policy is now in effect. You have an outstanding balance of $200. Plus, we require next month's payment in advance, another $350. Jack stared at the paper, his mouth going dry. $550. It might as well have been $5 million. "Mrs. Peterson, I get paid on Friday. I can make a partial payment then, and the rest next—" "I'm afraid that's not acceptable," she interrupted, her voice clipped. "The board has been quite clear. No exceptions." She lowered her voice. "And, frankly, Mr. Foster, your payment history hasn't exactly inspired confidence. This is the third late pickup this month." Jack felt heat rising to his face. "I'm doing my best. It's just me and Emma, and the garage." "I understand your situation is difficult," Mrs. Peterson said, without a trace of actual understanding. "But rules are rules. If you can't make the payment today, Emma won't be able to attend starting tomorrow. And I'll need to file a report about the late pickups." Jack's heart sank. A report could trigger a visit from social services. As a single dad, he already felt like he was under a microscope. "Please," he started, hating the desperation in his voice. "Emma loves it here. She needs stability." "Excuse me." Jack turned at the sound of a familiar voice. Olivia stood in the doorway, slightly breathless, as if she'd been hurrying. "I hope you don't mind, but I followed you," she said, stepping forward with a small smile. "You left before I could properly thank you." Mrs. Peterson's eyebrows shot up, her entire demeanor shifting as she took in the newcomer. "Can I help you, miss?" "Actually, I'm here to help Mr. Foster," Olivia replied smoothly. "He stopped to fix my car when no one else would, and I owe him." Jack shook his head. "You don't owe me anything." "I disagree," Olivia said firmly, then turned to Mrs. Peterson. "I understand there's a payment issue?" Before Jack could protest, Mrs. Peterson eagerly explained the situation. Olivia nodded, pulling out her wallet. "I'd be happy to settle Mr. Foster's account," she said, producing a credit card. "In full." "Absolutely not," Jack whispered urgently. "I can't accept that." Olivia leaned closer. "You saved me from being stranded in the rain. This is the least I can do. Please, let me help. Just this once." There was something in her eyes, not pity, but a genuine warmth that made it hard to refuse. Jack thought of Emma, of social services, of the mounting bills at home. "I'll pay you back," he said finally, his voice rough with emotion. While Mrs. Peterson processed the payment, Jack went to collect Emma from the activity room. His 6-year-old daughter came bounding over, her dark curls bouncing, clutching a drawing. "Daddy, look what I made. It's an engine, like in Mrs. Wilson's car that you fixed." Jack knelt down, examining the surprisingly detailed crayon rendering. "That's amazing, Em. You got all the parts right. Mrs. Wilson said I have a mechanical mind, like you." Emma beamed, revealing the gap where her front tooth had been. "Mechanical," Jack corrected gently. "And yes, you definitely do." When they returned to the lobby, Emma spotted Olivia immediately. "Who are you?" she asked, with a child's directness. "I'm Olivia," she replied, crouching to Emma's level. "Your dad helped fix my car today. Did it have a broken fuel injection system, or was it the alternator?" Emma asked seriously. Olivia laughed, delighted. "I'm not sure. Engines are a mystery to me. But your dad knew exactly what to do. He's the best fixer in the whole wide world," Emma declared proudly. As they walked to the parking lot together, Jack struggling to find the right words to express his gratitude, Olivia mentioned casually, "Actually, I might have a business proposition for you. My company has several vehicles that need regular maintenance. Would your garage be able to handle that?" Jack's eyebrows rose. "What kind of company? Why don't you come by tomorrow? Here's my card." She handed him a simple white business card that read only Olivia Barrett and an address in Richmond. "Around 10? "I'll be there," Jack said, tucking the card into his pocket. They reached their vehicles, his weathered pickup parked beside her luxury sedan. The contrast stark. "Thank you," Jack said quietly, "for everything." Olivia smiled that genuine smile again. Sometimes the universe puts the right people in our path at exactly the right moment. I think this might be one of those times. As Jack helped Emma into her booster seat, he couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had just happened. Something that went beyond a simple roadside repair and an unexpected act of kindness. The morning sun glinted off the windows of Jack's garage as he swept the floor, occasionally glancing at the clock. 9:15. He'd be leaving soon to meet Olivia at her office. "You're awful fidgety this morning," Max observed, wiping grease from a spark plug. "Hot date?" Jack shot him a look. "Business meeting. Potential new client with a vehicle fleet." Max whistled. "Fleet work? That's steady income. Who's the client?" Jack pulled out Olivia's card. "Barrett. The address is downtown." Max's eyes widened. "Barrett? As in Barrett Enterprises? Dude, they're huge. How'd you land that?" "I didn't land anything yet," Jack corrected. "I helped a woman with car trouble yesterday. Turns out she works there." "Well, better clean up," Max grinned. "Those corporate types are fussy about appearances." Jack looked down at his oil-stained jeans and worn work shirt. He kept a spare button-down in the office for customer meetings, but it wasn't exactly executive-level attire. "I'm a mechanic, not a banker," he muttered, though he did wash his hands thoroughly and changed his shirt before climbing into his truck. The drive to Richmond took 30 minutes, each mile increasing Jack's discomfort. The address led him to a gleaming glass tower in the heart of downtown. He parked his battered pickup in the visitors section, feeling increasingly out of place among the luxury vehicles. The lobby was all marble and polished brass, with a massive logo on the wall. Barrett Enterprises. A security guard eyed him suspiciously until Jack mentioned Olivia's name. "Miss Barrett is expecting you," the receptionist said after a call. 15th floor. Jack's confusion grew. "Miss Barrett?" He'd assumed Olivia was an office manager or fleet coordinator, not someone important enough to have her name used formally. The elevator opened directly into a spacious reception area where a professional-looking woman greeted him. "Mr. Foster, Ms. Barrett is just finishing a call. She asked me to show you to her office." Her office? Jack followed the assistant down a hallway, lined with impressive artwork, aware of curious glances from well-dressed employees. They reached a corner office with panoramic views of the city. "Can I get you anything?" "Coffee?" the assistant offered. "No, thank you," Jack replied, too overwhelmed to accept. When she left, he approached the window, taking in the view of the James River winding through Richmond. "It's something, isn't it?" Olivia's voice came from behind him. Jack turned and froze. The Olivia standing in the doorway was transformed from the woman he'd met roadside. Gone were the casual clothes, replaced by a tailored charcoal suit. Her hair, which had been in a simple ponytail yesterday, was now styled elegantly. She looked every inch an executive. "You're not just an employee here," he said slowly, the pieces falling into place. Olivia gave a small smile. "No, I'm the CEO." Jack felt as if the floor had dropped away. CEO of Barrett Enterprises, the regional powerhouse whose name appeared on everything from shopping centers to charitable foundations. "You're Olivia Barrett," he stated flatly. "The Olivia Barrett." She nodded. "I am. And yesterday, the car, the school payment." Jack's mind raced, recalculating every interaction. "Why didn't you tell me who you were?" "Would it have made a difference?" she asked. "Would you have treated me differently?" The answer was obvious. Of course he would have. "Is this some kind of game?" Jack demanded, his voice hardening. "Slumming it with the working class? Or maybe a publicity stunt for your next charity gala? Millionaire CEO rescued by struggling single dad?" Olivia's expression faltered. "No, Jack. It wasn't like that at all." "Then what was it like? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you pretended to be someone you're not." "My car really did break down," she insisted, "and I really was grateful for your help. When I saw you at the school, struggling with that payment, I just wanted to help, the way you helped me." Jack paced, running a hand through his hair. "And the fleet maintenance offer, was that real? Or just a way to get me here for your amusement?" "It's absolutely real." Olivia moved to her desk, retrieving a folder. "We have 12 company vehicles that need regular maintenance. The contract would be yours if you want it. No strings attached." Jack took the folder, scanning the figures inside. The contract would double his garage's income. It could change everything, allow him to hire another mechanic, pay off debts, maybe even start a college fund for Emma. But at what cost? "I don't need charity," he said stiffly. "It's not charity, it's business," Olivia countered. "Your reputation in town is excellent. You're honest, skilled, and fair with pricing. That's exactly what we need. And the fact that I helped you has nothing to do with it?" "It's how I found you," Olivia admitted, "but not why I'm offering you the contract." Jack closed the folder, studying her face. The sincerity in her eyes seemed genuine, but he'd been burned before by people who saw his situation as a project rather than a life. "I need to think about it," he said finally. Olivia nodded. "Of course. Take all the time you need." She hesitated. "Jack, I'm sorry if I misled you. That wasn't my intention." As he turned to leave, Jack couldn't help asking the question burning in his mind. "Why were you driving alone in the rain, without your driver or security or whatever CEOs have?" A shadow crossed Olivia's face. "Sometimes I need to remember what the real world feels like." The answer hung between them, both revealing and mysterious, as Jack stepped back into the elevator, the contract clutched in his hand. Jack drove home in a daze, the Barrett Enterprises contract sitting on the passenger seat like a live grenade. The figures swam in his head. Monthly retainer, parts allowance, labor rates well above his standard pricing. It would solve every financial problem he'd faced since Lisa died. So why did it feel so complicated? By the time he pulled into his garage, Max was locking up for lunch. "How'd it go, boss?" he asked, eyes immediately spotting the folder. "You got it?" Jack handed him the contract. "Take a look." Max flipped through the pages, his eyes widening. "Holy? This is for real? They're offering this much as a monthly retainer?" "Apparently. What's the catch?" Jack leaned against his truck. "That's what I've been trying to figure out." He hadn't told Max the full story about Olivia being the CEO. Not yet. It felt too surreal to explain. Instead, he spent the afternoon working on Mrs. Abernathy's ancient Buick, letting the familiar rhythm of mechanical work clear his head. At 3, he closed up to pick up Emma. She bounced into the truck, full of stories about her day. And then, Tyler said girls can't be mechanics, but I told him my daddy says I can be anything I want, if I work hard enough, she declared proudly. Jack smiled. That's right, kiddo. Can we have spaghetti tonight? With the red sauce? Sure thing. As they drove home, Emma suddenly asked, Will we see that nice lady again? The one from yesterday? Jack's hands tightened on the steering wheel. I'm not sure, Em. I liked her. She didn't talk to me like I'm a baby. Back home, while Emma colored at the kitchen table and Jack started dinner, he found himself opening his laptop. He typed Olivia Barrett into the search engine. Hundreds of results appeared. Business articles, charity event photos, interviews. He clicked on one from a business magazine from last year. Barrett Enterprises' Reluctant Heiress. How Olivia Barrett transformed her uncle's company after his unexpected death. Jack skimmed the article, learning how Olivia had inherited the company 3 years ago when her uncle died without children. The article described her as intensely private and more interested in the company's philanthropic initiatives than its profit margins. Another article mentioned her childhood. Barrett grew up in modest circumstances in rural Virginia with her father after her mother's death when she was 8. Her uncle, her mother's brother, paid for her education, but otherwise had little contact with her until she graduated from business school. The pieces started coming together. A modest upbringing, losing her mother young, suddenly inheriting wealth and responsibility she hadn't asked for. Maybe she really did understand his world better than he'd assumed. Daddy, the water's boiling over. Emma's voice snapped him back to reality. After dinner and Emma's bedtime, Jack sat on the porch swing, the contract in his hands. The decision wasn't just about money. It was about pride, independence, and trusting someone whose world seemed so different from his own. His phone chimed with a text from an unknown number. I hope I didn't overstep today. The offer stands, regardless of your decision. Olivia. Jack stared at the message. How had she gotten his number? Probably from the garage website. He hesitated, then typed back, Thank you for understanding. I'll let you know soon. The response came quickly. No rush. And Jack? I meant what I said. Sometimes I need to remember the real world. The view from the top floor can be isolating. Something in the vulnerability of that admission resonated with Jack. He'd felt isolated too, in his own way, since becoming a single father. The next morning, he called the number. Barrett Enterprises, how may I direct your call? Olivia Barrett, please, Jack said, his decision made. May I ask who's calling? Jack Foster, about the fleet maintenance contract. A moment later, Olivia's voice came on the line. Jack, good morning. I'll take the contract, he said without preamble, but I have conditions. I'm listening. Standard rates, no special treatment. I don't want charity disguised as business. Fair enough, Olivia agreed. And I'll need a proper inspection of each vehicle before beginning regular maintenance. No surprises. Of course. Would next Monday work for the initial inspections? Monday works. There was a pause before Olivia added, Thank you for giving this a chance, Jack. After hanging up, Jack called Max with the news. They'd need to hire another mechanic to handle the increased workload. For the first time in 3 years, the future looked financially secure. That evening, as he helped Emma with her homework, she asked, Are you happy, Daddy? You're smiling more. Jack realized she was right. Despite his reservations, something had shifted. He'd taken a step toward trust, not just in Olivia, but in the possibility that his life could be more than just survival. Yeah, Em, he answered, ruffling her hair. I think I am. The next week passed in a blur of activity. Jack hired a new mechanic, a recent technical school graduate named Tyler, and reorganized the garage's schedule to accommodate the Barrett Enterprises vehicles. By Friday, he'd inspected 6 of the 12 company cars, establishing a solid maintenance plan for each. At noon, Jack was elbow-deep in an oil change when Max called from the front. "Boss, you've got a visitor." Jack wiped his hands on a shop rag and stepped into the reception area. Olivia stood there, dressed more casually than at her office, but still polished in dark jeans and a blue blouse. She carried 2 paper bags. "Lunch delivery," she announced with a smile. "I thought you and your team might be hungry." Jack hesitated, caught off guard by her appearance. "You didn't need to do that." "Consider it good client relations," she replied smoothly. "Besides, I wanted to see how the inspections were coming along." Jack introduced her to Max and Tyler, who accepted the food eagerly. As they ate sandwiches from Richmond's Best Deli, Olivia asked detailed questions about the fleet vehicles, surprising Jack with her genuine interest. "You actually care about this stuff," he observed during a lull in conversation. Olivia nodded. "My father was a truck driver. I grew up around vehicles, though I never learned the mechanical side." "Your father was a truck driver?" Jack couldn't hide his surprise. "The articles I read didn't mention that." A smile played at Olivia's lips. "You researched me?" Jack felt heat rise to his face. "Just basic due diligence. You know, for a new client." "Of course," she said, her eyes twinkling. "Well, the articles usually focus on Uncle Robert, the business titan. They rarely care about my dad, who raised me alone in a small house in Chesapeake. He worked 80-hour weeks so I could go to college." "Where is he now?" Jack asked, genuinely curious. Olivia's expression clouded. "He passed away 5 years ago. Heart attack. He never got to see me take over the company." "I'm sorry," Jack said quietly. "I know how that feels." Their eyes met in silent understanding. The moment was interrupted by the jingle of the garage's front door. "Daddy!" Emma burst in, followed by Mrs. Wilson, their elderly neighbor who walked her home on early dismissal days. "There's my girl," Jack smiled, checking his watch. He'd almost forgotten it was Friday, early release day at school. "I hope it's okay that we're a bit early," Mrs. Wilson said. "This hip of mine is acting up something fierce today." "Of course, thank you for bringing her," Jack replied, helping the older woman to a chair. Emma had already spotted Olivia. "You're the lady from the school, the one who helped Daddy." "That's right," Olivia smiled. "And you're the girl with the mechanical mind." Emma beamed. "I got an A on my science project. We had to draw something that uses energy, and I drew a combustion engine." "That's impressive," Olivia said. "Most kids would draw a light bulb." "Light bulbs are boring," Emma declared. "Engines have explosions inside them. Controlled explosions," she added, clearly repeating something Jack had taught her. While Mrs. Wilson chatted with Max, Emma showed Olivia her science notebook, filled with surprisingly accurate drawings of various mechanical parts. "These are amazing," Olivia said, genuinely impressed. "You have a real talent." "My mommy was an engineer," Emma said proudly. "Daddy says I got her smart brain." Jack, who had been gathering tools nearby, felt the familiar pang whenever Lisa was mentioned. Olivia met his eyes briefly before turning back to Emma. "I bet she'd be very proud of you." "She's in heaven," Emma said matter-of-factly. "She got sick when I was 3. Sometimes I forget what she looked like, but Daddy has lots of pictures." Jack knelt beside them. "Hey, Em, why don't you show Mrs. Wilson that drawing you did of her car?" As Emma bounded over to the elderly neighbor, Jack spoke quietly to Olivia. "Sorry about that. She doesn't have many people to talk to about Lisa." "No need to apologize," Olivia said softly. "How long has it been?" 3 years next month. Cancer. It was quick. 6 months from diagnosis to—" He couldn't finish the sentence. "My mom died when I was 8, Olivia offered. Different for a child, but I remember the confusion. The feeling that the world should stop turning. But it doesn't." The simple understanding in her words, free of platitudes or awkward sympathy, loosened something in Jack's chest. "Emma seems to be doing well," Olivia observed. "She's remarkable." "She's everything," Jack replied simply. Before Olivia left, she hesitated by the door. Actually, I had another reason for stopping by. Barrett Enterprises is hosting a charity gala next Saturday. It's for our Education Foundation, providing STEM opportunities for underprivileged kids. She took a breath. I'd be honored if you and Emma would attend as my guests. Jack blinked in surprise. A gala? I don't exactly own a tuxedo. It's not that formal, she assured him. A nice suit would be fine. Emma might enjoy it. There's a whole children's area with science demonstrations. Before Jack could formulate an excuse, Emma appeared at his side. What's a gala? Is it like a party? Olivia smiled. It's exactly like a party, with science experiments. Can we go, Daddy? Please? Emma bounced on her toes, her eyes wide with excitement. Jack looked from his daughter's hopeful face to Olivia's warm smile and found himself nodding. I guess we're going to a gala. Jack tugged at his collar, feeling like an imposter in the charcoal suit he'd last worn to Lisa's funeral. He'd had it cleaned and pressed, but it still felt wrong, like it carried the weight of that day. You look handsome, Daddy, Emma declared from the back seat, resplendent in her favorite blue dress with tiny silver stars. Mrs. Wilson had helped with her hair, fashioning her curls into a crown of small braids. And you look beautiful, Princess, Jack replied, navigating through Richmond's evening traffic toward the gleaming hotel hosting the Barrett Foundation Gala. The valet's eyes widened slightly at Jack's truck, but maintained professional composure. Welcome to the Cartwright Hotel, sir. Inside, the ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers. Well-dressed guests mingled, champagne flutes in hand. Jack clutched Emma's hand tighter, scanning the room for a familiar face. Jack! Emma! Olivia's voice cut through his rising panic. She approached in a simple emerald gown. Elegant, but not ostentatious. I'm so glad you could make it. Emma gasped. You look like a princess. Olivia laughed, crouching to Emma's level despite her dress. Thank you. And look at you. Those stars in your hair are magical. Mrs. Wilson helped, Emma explained, twirling to show off her dress. Daddy says there's science experiments? Absolutely, Olivia smiled. The children's area is just through those doors. There's a demonstration on electricity starting in 15 minutes. As Emma bounced with excitement, a sleek-suited man approached. Olivia, the Hendersons are asking about the new tech initiative. Of course, Olivia nodded. Jack, this is Derek, my VP of Operations. Derek, Jack Foster. Derek's handshake was firm, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. Ah, the mechanic. Olivia's mentioned you. Jack bristled at his tone. Nice to meet you. Would you mind if Emma joined the children's activities? Olivia asked. I'd love to introduce you to some people, but I understand if you'd rather stay with her. Jack hesitated, but Emma was already eyeing the room where other children gathered around what appeared to be a miniature Tesla coil. I'll be good, Daddy, she promised, and I'll tell you all about the experiments later. After checking with the staff supervising the children's area, Jack reluctantly let Emma join the activities. She was immediately welcomed by the science demonstrators, her enthusiasm evident. Olivia guided Jack through the crowd, introducing him to various executives and philanthropists. To his surprise, he found common ground with several. A retired engineer who collected vintage motorcycles, a tech CEO who had started his career as an electrician. You're a natural, Olivia murmured as they moved between groups. At what? Pretending I belong here? She shook her head. At connecting with people. Being genuine? It's refreshing in this environment. Believe me. Before Jack could respond, a chime sounded, signaling dinner. They collected Emma, who bubbled with excitement about the electricity demonstration she'd witnessed. And then they made the light bulb glow without even touching it, she exclaimed, as they found their table. It's called induction, she pronounced carefully. Dinner passed pleasantly, with Emma charming everyone at their table, including the Foundation's educational director, who was visibly impressed by her knowledge. After the meal, Olivia was called to the stage. Jack watched as she addressed the crowd with natural grace, speaking passionately about educational opportunities for underprivileged children. "Education changed my life," she said. "I was a truck driver's daughter with big dreams but limited resources. My path wasn't easy, but I had help along the way." Her eyes found Jack's. Sometimes help comes from unexpected places, from people who give without expectation of return. That spirit of generosity inspired our new emergency fund for single-parent households, which launches tonight. The crowd applauded enthusiastically as Olivia explained how the fund would provide immediate assistance for housing, childcare, and educational needs. When she returned to their table, Jack was speechless. "Dance with me?" she asked, as the orchestra began playing. On the dance floor, Jack finally found his voice. "That fund, was that because of—" "You inspired it," Olivia admitted. "But the need is real. I've been looking for a meaningful direction for the foundation, something personal." As they moved together, Jack felt something shift between them, a barrier dissolving. Olivia's hand was warm in his, her eyes reflecting something deeper than professional interest. "Thank you," he said softly, "for seeing me. The real me, not just the struggling single dad," she finished. "I could say the same. Thank you for seeing beyond the CEO title." The music swelled, and Jack realized with startling clarity that he was falling in love with her. The thought both thrilled and terrified him. As the dance ended, Olivia was whisked away by a board member for introductions. Jack went to check on Emma, finding her demonstrating engine principles to fascinated adults using dinner rolls and butter knives as props. Making his way to the bar for water, Jack overheard familiar voices around the corner. "Olivia's mechanic charity project is going well, I see." Derek's voice dripped with condescension. "I told her it would make great publicity for the foundation launch." "Indeed," replied a woman Jack didn't recognize. "The poor single father and his precocious daughter. It's straight out of a Hallmark movie. The press will eat it up." "Exactly. She brings him to one event, gets her photo op for the annual report, and moves on to the next project. Brilliant strategy, really." Jack froze, the water glass halfway to his lips. The conversation continued, but blood rushing in his ears drowned out the words. A publicity stunt. A charity project. That's all they had ever been to Olivia. Fighting nausea, Jack collected Emma and made straight for the exit, ignoring Olivia's confused calls behind them. For 3 days, Jack ignored Olivia's calls and texts. Each ping of his phone twisted the knife deeper, but he couldn't bring himself to respond. What would he say? "Thanks for making me your charity case?" Or, "How's your publicity stunt going?" By Monday morning, he'd composed a formal email terminating the fleet maintenance contract, citing professional differences. His finger hovered over the send button when Max knocked on his office door. "Boss, you've been scowling at that computer for 20 minutes, Max said. "Whatever you're writing, maybe sleep on it." Jack sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Barrett Enterprises. I'm ending the contract." Max's eyes widened. "What? Why? They're our biggest client." "It's complicated." "Must be for you to throw away good money," Max observed. "This have anything to do with why you've been ignoring your phone every time it rings?" Jack glared at him. "Don't you have a transmission to rebuild?" "Look," Max said, undeterred. "I don't know what happened at that fancy party, but I know you. You don't walk away from commitments without a damn good reason." "I have one," Jack muttered. "Good enough to explain to Emma why we might have to let Tyler go? Or why we're back to scraping by?" The question landed like a punch. Jack hadn't considered how his pride would affect others. Max, Tyler, and especially Emma. "I'll think about it," he conceded. Later that afternoon, Jack picked up Emma from school, his thoughts still churning. "Daddy, is Ms. Olivia mad at us?" Emma asked abruptly from the back seat. Jack nearly missed a stop sign. "What? Why would you ask that?" "Because you look sad," and she hasn't visited the garage, and you don't answer when your phone makes the special ringtone you set for her. Jack hadn't realized how observant his daughter was. No, honey, she's not mad. We just had a misunderstanding. Mrs. Peterson says misunderstandings happen when people don't talk to each other. Out of the mouths of babes. Mrs. Peterson is pretty smart. So, are you going to talk to her? Emma persisted. It's not that simple, Em. Why not? Why not indeed? Because his pride was wounded? Because he'd allowed himself to believe in something that wasn't real? Sometimes adults make things complicated, he said finally. At home, Emma ran to the mailbox, a responsibility she took very seriously. Among the bills was an official-looking envelope. "What's this, Daddy?" she asked, handing him the mail. Jack's blood ran cold when he saw the return address. Richmond County Bank. With trembling fingers, he tore open the envelope. Notice of foreclosure proceedings. The garage. His livelihood. The business he'd built from nothing. The legacy he hoped to leave Emma someday. The bank was calling in his loans, giving him 30 days to pay in full or face foreclosure. Jack sank onto the porch steps, the paper crumpling in his fist. He'd been stretched thin before the Barrett contract. Now, with that income gone, "Daddy, what's wrong?" Emma's voice seemed to come from far away. Jack forced a smile. "Just boring grown-up stuff, kiddo. Go start your homework, okay?" Once Emma was inside, Jack allowed himself a moment of despair. Everything he'd worked for, slipping away. And for what? Because he'd overheard a conversation that might not even reflect Olivia's true intentions? But the words had cut too deep, confirming his worst fears. He'd been a project, not a person. A charity case, not a… What? What had he wanted to be to her? The answer came unbidden. Everything. He'd wanted to be everything. The sound of the screen door interrupted his thoughts. Emma stood there, clutching her science notebook. "Daddy, I got first place in the science competition," she announced, her face glowing with pride. "Mrs. Adams says I can go to the state finals in June." Jack's heart swelled with pride, even as it sank with realization. June. They might not even be in this school district by June if he lost the garage. "That's amazing, sweetheart," he managed, pulling her into a hug. "I'm so proud of you. Can we call Miss Olivia and tell her?" She helped me practice my presentation about engines. Jack swallowed hard. "Not right now, Em. But she'll be so happy. She said science girls have to stick together." "Emma, please," Jack said more sharply than intended. "Not now." Emma's face fell, and Jack immediately regretted his tone. "I'm sorry, baby. I didn't mean to snap. I'm just having a tough day." "Is it because of the papers?" Emma asked, pointing to the crumpled foreclosure notice. "Are they bad papers?" Jack sighed. There was no point shielding her completely. "They're about the garage. We might have to make some changes." "Like what?" "Like maybe moving to a different place, where it's less expensive." Emma's eyes widened. "But I like my school. And my friends. And what about the science competition?" "I know, Em," Jack said, his heart breaking at the tears welling in her eyes. "I'm going to try my very best to fix it. I promise." As Emma disappeared inside, shoulders slumped, Jack stared at the foreclosure notice. Pride be damned. He'd swallow it for Emma's sake. Tomorrow, he'd call Olivia, reinstate the contract, and find a way to make it work. The sound of tires on gravel drew his attention. A car was pulling up, not a luxury sedan, but a modest rental. And stepping out into the fading evening light, soaked by the sudden spring rain, was Olivia. Jack stared in disbelief as Olivia approached, rain soaking her simple blouse and jeans, an echo of their first meeting. No designer clothes, no corporate armor. Just a woman, vulnerable in the downpour. "What are you doing here?" he asked, not moving from the porch steps. "You wouldn't answer my calls," she replied, raindrops mingling with what might have been tears on her cheeks. I had to see you. How did you find my house? Your address is on the contract. She stopped at the bottom of the steps, looking up at him. Jack, please, let me explain. I think I heard enough at the gala, he said, his voice flat. The mechanic charity project makes great publicity, right? Pain flashed across Olivia's face. Is that what you think? That you and Emma were just a PR stunt to me? Weren't we? Your executive seemed pretty clear about it. Derek doesn't speak for me, Olivia said fiercely, and he doesn't know anything about what's in my heart. Jack wanted to believe her, desperately, but doubt still gnawed. Why are you really here, Olivia? In a rental car? In the rain? Because I resigned as CEO this morning. The words hung in the air between them, impossible yet unmistakable. You what? Jack finally managed. I resigned, Olivia repeated. I'm stepping down to focus on the foundation full-time. She took a breath. The company, the money, the position. None of it was ever really mine, Jack. It was Uncle Robert's legacy, not mine. But why? Because when you left that gala without a word, when you shut me out completely, I realized what I stood to lose, she interrupted, her voice breaking. And it wasn't the company. The foreclosure notice crinkled in Jack's hand, a harsh reminder of reality. Olivia, you don't just walk away from a multi-million-dollar company. I'm not walking away from responsibility, she clarified. I'll remain on the board, but I've been searching for purpose since my father died. The company was never it. A small sound from the doorway made them both turn. Emma stood watching, her eyes wide. Miss Olivia? She said uncertainly. You're all wet. Despite everything, Jack found himself stepping aside. You should come in before you catch pneumonia. Inside, while Olivia dried off with a towel Jack provided, Emma chattered about her science competition win. Olivia listened intently, her joy for Emma's achievement genuine and warm. I'm not surprised you won, she told Emma. You understand engines better than most adults. Jack prepared hot chocolate, the domestic normalcy of the moment surreal against the backdrop of foreclosure notices and CEO resignations. When Emma went to fetch her project binder, Jack finally asked the question burning inside him. Why did you really come here, Olivia? She met his gaze directly. Because when I met you on that roadside, you helped me without knowing who I was or what I was worth. Do you know how rare that is in my world? You saw me. Just me. And the foundation? The single-parent fund? Is completely genuine, she insisted. You inspired it, yes, but not as a project, as the embodiment of what one person can do despite overwhelming odds. She took a deep breath. I grew up watching my father work himself to exhaustion to give me opportunities. When he died, I inherited wealth I never earned, while good people like you struggled despite working twice as hard. Jack's fingers tightened around his mug. I don't want pity. It's not pity, Olivia said firmly. It's recognition. Respect. Silence stretched between them until Jack finally spoke. I'm losing the garage. He placed the foreclosure notice on the table. 30 days. Olivia scanned the document, understanding dawning in her eyes. Is that why you've been avoiding me? Pride? Partly, Jack admitted. I terminated the contract. After what I overheard. You terminated? Olivia looked stricken. Jack, I had no idea. She hesitated. Let me help. I don't want your money. Then what do you want? She challenged. To lose your business? To uproot Emma from her school? All because you're too stubborn to accept help from someone who… She stopped abruptly. Someone who what? Jack pressed. Someone who loves you, Olivia finished quietly. Both of you. The words hung in the air, honest and unadorned. Jack felt something shift inside him, a wall crumbling. I fell in love with you that first day, he confessed. Not with your money or your position. With the woman who smiled so genuinely when her car started. Emma returned, oblivious to the charged moment she'd interrupted. As she showed Olivia her project, Jack watched them together. His brilliant daughter, and this remarkable woman who'd walked away from everything society valued to follow her heart. 6 months later, Foster's Automotive had transformed. The foreclosure was long forgotten, the business thriving with its new focus, standard repairs alongside a community program offering free car maintenance for single parents in need. Jack and Olivia ran it together, her business acumen complementing his mechanical expertise. The bell jingled as Emma burst in after school, waving her report card. "All A's," she announced triumphantly. "Even in English." Olivia high-fived her. "That calls for celebration. Ice cream after dinner?" "Yes," Emma cheered, then bounded off to show Max. As they closed up shop that evening, Jack took Olivia's hand. "Any regrets?" he asked. "About walking away from the corner office?" Olivia smiled, watching Emma skip ahead of them on the sidewalk. "Not one," she said softly. "I thought I inherited wealth from my uncle, but real wealth?" She squeezed his hand. "That found me on a rainy roadside, when a kind man stopped to help a stranger." Hand in hand, they walked home together, their path illuminated not by the trappings of financial success, but by something far more valuable. A family built on kindness, trust, and love.